Perfect. My name is Leah M. I am an admitted attorney of the High Court of South Africa with over 10 years of experience in the industry. I'm a legal tech and innovation specialist and a candidate for a master's in legal technology. But what is important for today's topic is that I'm one of the co-founders of Learn Legal, which is a startup that's really catered for small businesses. And we currently operate in South Africa and Lesotho. So what we do, we use technology in order to better service small businesses through service delivery and their legal documents with one of our shortest time periods from document delivery in 4 minutes on the platform. First of all, the lawyer side of me, I have to put a disclaimer that this presentation has been protected by copyright law, and these are merely for educational purposes. It does not constitute legal advice. Myself, Lenoma Legal, and Sariti Associates do not accept any liability for any loss or damage that may be occasioned as a result of any persons acting based on these slides. What I'll be unpacking today really is the business structure, how to protect your IP, raising capital, interacting with the public as a business, and must have business legal documents. Firstly, from a business structure perspective, look, traditionally in South Africa, a lot of businesses focus on limited partnerships. And what that means is that this is what everyone does. You go to CIPC, you register, and it's registered under PTY Ltd. But there are actually other options that you could be running your business. That is sole proprietorship. You can enter into partnerships and actually structured corporations. You can even run a business from a trust. And I'm packing this in here because I think sometimes we lose sight of this. Perhaps maybe it's because of regulations, especially if you're raising or you're going to do business with government. And oftentimes what they'll ask for is for your CIPC documents, your registration documents. But I needed to broaden the scope to indicate that there are multiple ways within which you can actually do business in South Africa. Of course, there are certain legal consequences to each option. So for example, will a sole proprietorship, this means that you are not separated from your business, unlike in a limited propriety. What this means is if your business goes under, you go under. Whereas with a PTY Limited, there's a clear separation which states that your business is a separate legal person. That is why a business is able to sue and can be sued. Whereas with a sole partnership, you're one and the same thing. These is often structured in informal markets, so people who sell on the streets and so forth, they would be considered as sole proprietors. From an intellectual property perspective, what I wanted to unpack today really is how you can start protecting your business. Because I think we lose sight of that. Once you start working, you just want the money. But if you really value your business, you need to consider the intellectual property behind it. So what is intellectual property? This refers to creations of their mind. So whatever you're coming up with, your literary work, artistic work, your designs, your symbols, names, images. So from a business perspective, what this would mean would be your logo. That is intellectual property. It was created, it was designed, it was unique. The type of social media content that you guys are pushing, the videos that you're creating, that is intellectual property. Then there are a lot of ways that you can actually try and protect this, but it really depends on the type of intellectual property. So there are patents, trademarks, copyrights, and industrial designs. For patents, this is time limited. It's legally protective. There's an exclusive right for you to use and sell an invention. So if you are in the creating business, or for example, if your business is selling, let's say soap, you've created your own soap, there's a unique formula to it, you can actually get that patented in order to protect you. So because the whole use is to prevent other people from actually using that, because it's your invention, so you have to protect it. So that gives you the legal authority and power to actually protect it. From a trademark perspective, these are a combination of words, sounds, designs used to distinguish different services from one organization to another. So, for example, with us, our typical trademark word is hashtag Lenomaligo. I'm not sure if you guys are aware with that Castañovez case where he actually did trademark the hashtag fill up the dome. And it's important because there's actually brand value around it. So it's quite important that you keep that in mind. So if you have a slogan or something in your business, you need to be in a position to actually protect that. Copyrights. So for the people that are in the arts, your literary rights, the artists, musical rights, but also inclusive of the coders. So if there are any people in the technology space, this would also suit you for purposes of protecting it. And this is really a way for you to ensure that you are covered. Traditionally, you don't necessarily have to register it physically like you would with the other copyrights intellectuals that we've dealt with. This literally what can be done, and I'm sure you noticed in books and so forth, someone will say authored by XYZ, and there'll be a small C with a circle. That is a person asserting their rights, that this is my work. And if you use it, you need my permission, or else I can sue you. The last option is the industrial design. This is really distinctive attributes of a product that can be judged slowly by the eye or the shape or the feature. So this is where the designs, let's say for a cell phone, so your Apple iPhone, those are industrial designs, and you can actually get that protected. Now, before I get, one of the quickest ways to actually protect yourself from intellectual property right, especially with the trademark, is using the term TM, that small TM. People actually don't realize that even though the trademark registration process takes long, the standard period is actually 2 years, but merely by one, starting the registration process, but secondly, putting the word TM, and you'll notice even on our Twitter, on our social media, even in our official documents, it's Lenoma Legal, and on top it says TM. This is purely in order to assert our rights and authority that this is our name and that we are using it up until the registration is finalized. And it's something that you can do for yourself too, in order to protect yourself legally. Because from a litigation point, you need to show that this was your work, and part of it includes you actually asserting your rights. And this is one of the quickest ways for you to do that as a business owner. So, raising capital, money. Oftentimes, the biggest issue with businesses will be about funding, right? But I think a lot of people don't consider customers as a way of raising capital. Here's the thing, it's difficult because obviously sometimes you might need capital in order to actually get the first client. But more often than not, the most effective way for you to actually start raising capital is through getting customers. And it is through that they actually assist you, they pay you, and then you build your business. You pour in the money that you receive back into your business. Another way that is less spoken about is crowdfunding. It's sort of gotten a bit of traction in South Africa, where you go to a platform and you just raise your course to say that I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4, and we need this. And another way, which is actually big in the US, is through crowd equity crowdfunding. So what that means is, instead of one angel investor or one VC actually investing into you, you have a whole lot of people, hundreds of people contributing into your business by crowdfunding the amount that you need for a portion of your equity into the business. So that's also a great way to raise funds. But in all of these, there are legal implications that you need to think through. So for example, through your customers, think about your T's and C's. Do you have a way that you're managing your client relationships? Are you clear? One of the most effective ways you can do this is to, for example, in your code, when you send it out, you say, hey, I expect 60% before it's paid, or even as you engage, to say that this is how we work. Please pay us 60% or 70% before we start with the work, and then you can pay the balance after. So all of these things that have legal implications, even with the crowdfunding, oftentimes the platform itself gets a portion of the amount. So it's something that you need to take into account and read the terms and conditions. Another ways, which is popularly known in terms of raising, is actually equity financing, debt financing, and sometimes a combination of both. Wait, I see questions. Oh, okay. I'll get that later. So equity is a method of raising capital through the issuing of additional shares and capital of a particular business. And remember when we started, I said there are different types of businesses. So you'll note it says capital in a corporation or a limited partnership or a trust. So there's more than one way to do business. Another way is through, let's see, safe. So if you are in the technology space, it's not so often used in South Africa yet, but because there's been an increase of foreign investment into the company, they make use of what we call simple agreement for future equity. So this allows an investor to actually convert the cash investment into equity when the business raises capital through an early read round. So this often takes place either in the pre-seed round or in the first seed round. They're short, they're easy, they're uncomplicated, unlike equity financing. And then you also have debt financing, a method of raising capital by borrowing either from shareholders, partners, third parties, banks. And debt financing is probably the most common one that we know. If you need financing or funding, get a business plan or get someone to do it for you so you can actually pitch to a bank to get a loan. That's the most common one in South Africa. But in all of that, as you progress and deal with people, because whether you like it or not, as an entrepreneur, you need to be out there. If you're not selling, you're dead, literally. With no sales in the business, you cannot move the business forward. And so you need to interact with people, whether it's your client, stakeholders, even suppliers. So you're literally constantly engaging with other people. And sometimes one of the ways that this can be done is through, a website. And this can really take the show depending on where you are with your business. This can be an official website, but this can also be like your social media page. So if you just have, like, let's say a Facebook page account, this will also be applicable to you in terms of how you engage with businesses. So you need to be very clear in your terms and conditions. And because this is really a way that they are interacting with you. And that is why you find even in a website, there are always website terms and conditions, because it navigates the relationship between the user or your client and your website and what you do with the type of data that you're going to get from them. And some of the typical agreements that you would need are your terms and conditions for the website, privacy policies. We actually had a Poppy webinar a while back, which has come very, very important this year. And it's one of those key legislations that you need to keep in mind as you run your business through how you interact with the public, because it deals with data in terms of how you use it, what you're going to do with it, and actually get permission. For example, when you guys signed up for a session, the last question about email marketing, where we asked, okay, would you like to sign up for a newsletter? That is a Poppy related action or consequence because of the legislation, because you cannot willingly just send someone advertising material without asking permission from them. Unless, let's say, it's from a dedicated WhatsApp group where we know this is a business group and all we do here is just share business. So there's consent from the actual group. But things like newsletters and so forth, people need to give consent. So that's why we gave you guys that option to say, oh, okay, yes, I can, and no, I can't. But part of this also entails really understanding your policies and how you run your business. And there's a lot of those policies that you need to have in place so that you ensure how they navigate. Typical policies would be not only privacy related ones, but even social media policies. How are your employees engaging, in the outside world? Because whether you like it or not, especially if people are aware that you are employing them, whatever that they do might have detrimental impact on your business. So you need to be able to, manage that. Some other policies include, employment policies. So discipline, what does that look like? If someone wants leave, what does that look like? And if you don't have that from the beginning, it becomes quite difficult to manage it as and when it happens because there's no system in place. So the sooner you start with a solid foundation, the better. There are a couple of things that you must have as a business. So user agreements. So if your business is in any shape or form online, even if your platform, for example, is not like ours is very interactive. It requires a lot of you. But if your website is simply just information based, where you just plugged in your services and who you are, and someone can just go there to find out, you still need website terms and conditions, your privacy policy in there. Because also from your end, how you track the number of users and where they come from by using Google Analytics and so forth, you need to ask permission from them. I don't know if you guys have noticed, if you go to any website lately, there'll always be, either a privacy notice or a cookie policy where they ask, do you accept or you don't accept? So that's how it works, and you actually need that. And then for traditional businesses, your terms and conditions to manage relationships. So different tiers of relationships. So non-disclosure agreement. These are circumstances where, for example, you're going to pitch your idea to someone, or you're trying to bring a partner on board, but obviously you want to protect your business. So one of the effective ways you can actually do that is through entering into an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. Another one, especially those in the technology space, is the SAFE agreement. If you have a partner in your business, you need a shareholders agreement. It's not merely enough just so that, oh, we registered at CIPC and we both, are shown at CIPC. No. What a shareholder agreement does is actually deal with the governance side of your business to say, how do we manage things if things go bad? When do we hold shareholders agreement? How do we share profits? How do we deal with losses if it happens as a shareholder in the business? And if you don't have that and the business goes bust, it becomes a problem. Another typical example is the co-founder agreement. This is typically, applicable to those in the technology space, but this really manages, especially at the inception of the company, the relationship between the co-founders. Another one is a partnership agreement. So you're excited, but more often than not, in order to bring your business into fruition, you actually need certain strategic partners into it. So for example, if you are a photographer and you want to get sales from, let's say, a wedding organizer, you need to enter into an agreement with them. So there's an understanding that, oh, okay, they refer, let's say, the client, and they'll get a referral fee. So that management is important because sometimes handshake things are quite problematic. If you find yourself employing people, definitely you're going to need an employment agreement. But if you're not at that stage in your business, you'll need what we call a freelance agreement. So this really divorces you from the Labor Relations Act and any consequences that come through from that, where someone comes for a specific project or for a certain time period in order to do something in your business that you need. They get paid for that project and then they leave. And then the most typical one in standard, business is actually the service level agreement. So this is literally as it says, it's a service level agreement that actually it's a service that you're giving, and there needs to be agreement on how the two parties are going to engage. So those are the key documents that I wanted to unpack today. I tried to make this today's session very short, and that's why that's it. Any questions?
We actually do have a few questions. I'm going to jump on now. So the very first one actually came quite early, Leah. And this was a trademark for the name is done and signed by the power of attorney.
Toby, you're cutting. I can't hear.
Power of attorney. However, is the trade able to protect both the name and the logo?
Toby, you're cutting. I can't hear.
Connection is just like me. But I was talking about the question from Oneli.
Okay.
So she's asking about trademark and that the name is done and signed by the power of attorney. So does she ask that does the registered trademark able protect both the name and the logo?
If it's not part of the initial registration request, it probably won't. But the best way to do this is actually check the registration details in terms of the trademark. So what does it say? If it's silent on it, it probably is not covered.
Okay, so Onele, hopefully that answers your question. Then we've got another one here from Goli, and Goli asks, what is the difference between a lease contract and MOU?
Or a lease contract. A lease contract, often that is really between, like if you're renting, so you get into a lease agreement, where if you're renting, typical, if you have ever rented, you probably have signed one or should have signed one if you didn't, but it just navigates that relationship, because I think lawyers complicate agreements, but really a contract is just a way to manage a relationship, understand what goes what and who's not supposed to do what under which circumstances, and if they do, what will happen. And then an MOU is literally just a way of managing relationship. But I must caution people, there's sometimes run around about MOUs, but MOUs are actually not legally binding because they're actually like the precursor to the actual agreement. So if, for example, Suriti and us decided to, I don't know, merge, before the actual merger, we could enter into a memorandum of understanding of this intention. But from a legal standpoint, it's literally just it that we are coming to an understanding of this is what we intend to do, but there's still going to be a follow-on agreement that will actually solidify it. It's good because it's like an offer letter or letter of intent. Those are initial type of documents, but you still need to get your employment contract. You still need to get the contract from the government after the letter of appointment. So it's literally just a precursor to the actual contract. I saw Dumisang asked, how does one acquire seed funding? Through those different options. So it really just depends, but it also depends on your industry where you are. But through the options that are described in terms of raising capital.
Did you see that we had a question from Nontlantla as well? So Nontlantla was specifically asking for WhatsApp business and the WhatsApp catalog, and if that is considered an online store.
Yes. What about is that considered an online store? You're showing literally, because the whole point of an online store is that people can browse different options and then buy based on that option online directly. So it's the same with us. So if you go to lonumberdocs.com, it's literally an online shop of legal documents. So it's an online shop insofar as it directly leads to a sale through that specific platform. And this is why, before we forget, this is why that even with that, you need to have your terms of conditions with your WhatsApp catalog, so that if it means, there's certain time delays or certain circumstances where you won't be able to do things specifically through the WhatsApp medium, you need to be able to manage that relationship and manage expectations. Yeah.
Okay, hopefully he doesn't cut me. Hopefully he doesn't cut me because connection is not on my side today. Ladies and gentlemen, then if there are no last questions, then I think we will be preparing to close off the session. Thank you so much to everyone that tuned in. I know that we went a bit over the time, but I'm just going to quickly invite Seriti back on for last remarks and also any last information that Seriti you'd like to share with the people. Is Peter still here? Peter? Okay, while Peter's still getting his connection ready, Leah, are there any
last? Thank you so much, Toby.
Oh,
so guys, in conclusion, okay, should I hear for it? Lovely. Thank you so much for everyone. I mean, we're available on social platforms, Rite, and I mean, we're on YouTube as well, where we'll be actually delving in quite a lot more of these subjects. I mean, I can't say it will be weekly, but every so often as we can, and these questions, do get in touch with us. www.ca.co.za. Thank you so much, and I appreciate everyone for coming through. Back to you, Toby.
All right, I'm gonna not switch on my thingy now. Leah, please, last minute remarks.
Thank you for taking your time for joining us on a Friday. But if I can just implore on people, just enter into agreements. I know it sounds intimidating because lawyers have made it so difficult and complicated. So you actually don't even bother because you think, why should I go to a lawyer or do something? But enter into an agreement. And it doesn't matter if you're doing business with your friend, actually, especially with your friend, get it into an agreement, because like I said, agreements are important because they literally navigate the relationship. It's that simple. It's literally a story of, this is how a relationship would start, this is what we intend to do, this is when it will end, if there is an ending, and then anything in between. So if someone does something wrong, in what legal terms we call a breach, this is what is going to happen. These are the consequences. So please, if do that, that will really save yourself a lot of time. And it'll also tell you the type of person that you're engaging in business with. Because if someone is unable to commit to you in writing on certain things on your business, then what are they, going to do something to you that they don't want a contract to actually, get them. So it's very, very important. It does not matter how small your business is. Get that right, get the foundations right, so that by the time, you get that big funding that you've been asking for, you get that big kind that you've been praying for, that your systems are in order. And one of the most effective ways to do that is through literally agreements, unpacking that process in your business and where you need one.
All right. Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. This now officially signs us off. Thank you once again for tuning into today's webinar. If you would like more information, please feel free to follow us on social media. We are at Lenoma Legal. You can also follow Seriti CA. They are S&A Chartered Accountants on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then on Twitter, they are at Seriti CA. Once again, if you did not sign up to the webinar and we do not have your email address, please drop it in the comment section so that I will be able to reach out to everyone and share the information related to today. Thank you once again and see you very soon, ladies and gentlemen.